the same as anterior posterior radiohumeral. We're just focusing on slightly different because of how we set the patient up and what if we get down to the nitty-gritty of how it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the patient into mid-pronation supination, and what I want you to do, Marco, with your left hand, kind of hold your right hand in mid-pronation supination. Same thing, I'm going to take my hand that's closest to the upper extremity or up to the shoulder, and I'm going to stabilize the humerus and the ulna. I'm going to sit down. I can do it here, but they're showing it standing. I'm going to find the radial head again, and I can pinch, and then I'll say, Marco, can you do pronation, supination a little bit so I can feel it? Okay, there we go. So basically, I'm got my fingers around remember, I'm just trying to grab the radius. I don't want to touch the ulna on this. And I'm going to, with my thumb and my thenar, I'm going to push. I'm going to do an anterior glide. And as I do an anterior glide, what motion should I be increasing? Supination, but why?
Because of the glide, it rolls over the ulna when you go into supination.
What's the arthrokinetic? Convex on concave. It's opposite. So I'm going anterior. When I go into supination, the radial head is moving anteriorly as I'm. I said it backwards. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever, Lee. What if I go pronation? If I do an anterior glide, it's pushing this way. It's roll the.
You want Bob?
Come on, Bob. He's like, I'll show you.
Okay, so we're mid-pronation supination. If I go into supination, the head of the radius is rolling anteriorly. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. If I'm in mid-pronation supination and I go into pronation, the head of the radius is going posteriorly. Okay? Thanks, Bob. Good job, guys. You got it? All right. So, what's holding the head of the radius against the ulna? Annular ligament. So, that's basically, we're trying to create space with that annular ligament so we can get more pronation supination. So, I'm going to support. I'm going to find the head of the radius. I got my fingers around the radius and my thumb against the thenar and the thumb pushing on the posterior aspect, pushing anteriorly, and then I hold. Now my hands don't change if I'm going to do a posterior glide. I just keep it here and then I pull. Now I got to be careful I don't pinch, and the girls that have nails, you're going to have to start trimming, and guys that have long nails, done this. And I know, I'm almost 100% sure Ed has said that for soft tissue and myofascial release, that you have to have nails that are short because your patients don't like it.
You don't want to slice them open.
Yeah. All right. So anterior glide, I'm pushing this way. Posterior glide, I don't want to pinch because there's lots of nerves that run through here. You know, I got to try to get on the bone and pull back. Okay? And this, my left hand is the stabilizing arm, so I just don't pull them this way or I push them this way. So I got to support here. Okay? Any questions on that? All right. Okay? The next one we're going to do is we're going to do another distraction, but we're going to do the radioulnar distraction. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a towel, kind of give it elevation. I'm going to stabilize the humerus with my hand. I'm going to use the thenar eminence. What I'm going to do is stabilize for 4. All right, where's cause? Most adults, you're not going to have that problem unless they've had a problem in the past. So I have to be careful. You'll see it on the chart. You'll ask the patient, have you ever had any elbow problems? Have you ever, nothing? You're good, John? They say, yeah. I have to kind of take them at their word, but I have to be careful. So I'm pinching with my hand and clamping on the radius, on the distal aspect of the radius, stabilizing, and with my body, I'm giving a little pull. Can you feel that? Pretty gentle, right? I'm not pulling very hard. I can pull harder. Now, I was teasing Kaz when he was mobbing Marco. You got, know who you're. Hey, yeah, I'm okay. Well, oh, yeah.
It's like that all the time.
We can't have that. So, but also, if Lizzie was trying to mow Kaz, I mean, she'd probably be in here with her, pulling this
Use her
one. So
legs.
you have to know how to do that, all right? And it might just be impossible for one therapist to mow someone like, if I had Lizzie on Kaz, it probably is not going to be very effective. So, all right, so that's the first one. So we'll do all the radiohumeral. So the distraction is the first one. It helps in all movements, and mostly we have flexion extension, but what else do we have at the
supination, pronation?
We have at the radiohumeral, we have pronation, supination. So because it's a distraction, it helps in all movements, okay? So that's the first one. The next one is a radiohumeral anterior and a radiohumeral posterior glide. If I'm going to do a posterior glide, let's arthrokinematics now, guys. If I do a posterior glide of the radiohumeral joint, what movement or motion am I increasing? If I'm doing a grade 3 or 4?
Flexion.
Extension.
Okay, you have a 50-50 chance. Is it flexion or is it extension? Who says flexion? Raise your hand.
For posterior.
If you're doing a posterior glide,
Oh no. So you're going to extension.
okay, what's the shape of the joint?
Convex, concave on convex.
Concave on convex. So what's the rules that state?
Opposite. Concave.
Same.
Oh, save, yeah. It's convex.
So if I'm going to do a posterior glide of the radiohumeral joint, if I'm doing a posterior glide, it should help with it.
Extension.
I heard you the first time.
She's going to hit someone on the
Okay, so it's extension. If I'm going to do an anterior radiohumeral glide, it's going to
Flexion.
help with flexion. Same direction with this one, guys. If you know the shape, we know how it should work, right? Okay, so elbow can be, I can let him be here. I'm going to stabilize. I'm going to stabilize on the ulna. So I don't have the arm resting on the towel. I'm going to palpate and find the head, the radial head, okay? And how can I do that? By doing pronation, supination. I should feel that head spin. I'm going to support here. Same thing. I'm going to thenar eminence. Other fingers are going to be on the posterior aspect of the radius. I'm going to get down, and then I'm just going to stabilize and push down with my thenar. Okay? I'm pushing posterior. Radius. But I'm going to stabilize. If I don't stabilize, I push, I can hyperextend that elbow, and I don't need to do that. I'm stabilizing here. Oops, gotta find it. There it is.
Put a mid-pronation.
What?
Put a mid-pronation.
No, I'm going to put him in supination, because if he's in mid-pronation supination, I'm pushing the radius into the ulna. So if I put him in supination, the bones are running here, right? Parallel. So I can push it down this way. If it's here, I'm pushing it into the ulna, because the radius is on top of the ulna, right? Mm-hmm. So supination, support, thenar eminence. I'm going to find it, and I'm going to push down. Okay? All right? Now, if I'm going to do an anterior glide, I'm going to keep them in the same position. This one's more difficult because I do have to use my fingers. And I was telling some of you, if I'm pushing with my thenar or my palm, I can push harder and longer because I don't have to use my finger muscles to hold it. On this one, I actually have to. Same thing. I palpate by the head. I'm behind. I'm going to lift up on the radius with my fingers, and it's much harder to put them in prone. We always talk about putting people in prone much harder, but it's still not a good mode that way. So everything's the same except the direction. I find the head. Instead of pushing down, I'm going to lift up.
Just with the fingers, right?
With my fingers. Yep. Okay? And I want to make sure, I wasn't really on it there, but now I feel it. And he has pretty good movement, so I might just pinch and lift up and give support that way. Okay?
This is for the anterior, right?
Is he okay with it?
Yeah, I'm good.
This is for the anterior line.
Anterior. So posterior is down,
Anterior's out.
anterior is up. If I'm doing a posterior glide, I'm increasing
Extension.
extension. If I'm doing anterior glide,
Flexion.
flexion. All right. I want you to work on those 3 glides. Instead of 4 people this time, let's just do 2 because we added 2 more glides. And let's practice this joint distraction. I need the elbow slightly flexed. But what I want you to think about, I'm gonna put my hands like across here, and my thumbs on the posterior aspect of the arm. Basically, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna have John slide a little bit closer, and I'm gonna say, just relax your arm. I want you to think about, when you take an ice cream scoop, you make a scooping. When you scoop out ice cream, you kind of make a scooping action with the. That's basically what we're gonna do. We're gonna start here, and I'm going to pull kind of down and up for the distraction. So it's that scooping action, like I'm scooping up ice cream. Everyone likes ice cream, right? So do a good distraction. No, just kidding. So we're going to get in. I'm going to slide. I'm going to put, most likely, I'm going to use my left hand, in this case, the one that's most medial, with the contact of the skin. My other hand, my right hand is going to be on top. So now I'm going to be focusing on the medial aspect. So I got it here, and I'm going to say, John, can you just relax? Okay. So then I'm just going to pull down and scoop and do a distraction. And now on a scale 1 to 10, that's probably a 2 or a 3. Great. That's probably right there at a 2, close to a 3. If I go a little bit more, that's probably a 3. And if I go a little bit more, that's a 4. And then I take it off slowly, right? Remember? How did that feel? Could you feel a little distraction?
Not really.
Small, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's not a big one. The shoulder has a lot more joint play. The ulnar-humeral joint does not. So you're going to go, I don't feel anything. And your classmate, when you're doing it to him, I don't feel much. Well, you're not going to. It's just a little bit. So I'll do it one more time. I don't need to do too much of stabilization on this because the mat is doing the stabilization, and as I'm pulling underneath, it's stabilizing. The mat itself is doing some of the stabilization. So I'm just going to have a slight flexion. Now, if I want, I can have him rest his arm or wrist on my chest. Girls probably don't want that with a guy doing that on you. So, you're going to have, you can put it on, I would probably put it on the shoulder. So you could do it on the shoulder. And then you're going to scoop the ice cream and pull, hold, 1. How long do we hold? 20 to 30 seconds, right? Like a stretch. And then take it off, okay? That's the ulnar-humeral joint. That's all I wanted us to do right now. So I would like you, this one goes quick and easy.